today on Online for Authors, I'm chatting with Brent Lindstrom, author of One for the Money, Two for the Soul. Welcome, Brent.
Hey, thanks. Glad to be here, Terry.
I'm super excited to have you. I loved the book. Before we really dive in, though, can you give like a quick elevator pitch so those that are listening have an idea of what your book is like?
Okay. So my book it's clean fiction to start with, so it's good for adults and anything down to preteens. But the idea is that you've got technology that has advanced to the point where clones can be made at any age you want. But because of that, they don't always have a life to them. So what they've done is you've got this nefarious group of people who've learned how to steal somebody's spirit, place it inside of one of these cloned shells to animate it and bring it to life, which basically elevates the whole human trafficking situation. And so in this story, there's this girl who gets her spirit stolen, but there was a little problem when that happened. It got split, and the little girl kept half of it, and this other boy who was going to be sold as an assassin's apprentice, he got the other half of it. And along with that went only certain characteristic traits. So creates a fun, zany thrill ride as you follow both of their paths in the story.
Absolutely. So I'm curious, this is definitely has like a fantasy element to it, but it also has like a suspense element to it. When you were writing, did you have a genre in mind, or did you write it and then say, okay, now I have to figure out how to market it?
Okay, so I am very well aware that I've mixed genres and not really focused on one, which makes marketing incredibly difficult for this. But so yeah, I knew going into it that was going to be hard, but I at the same time said, you know what? This is a story that I want to tell as an artist, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. So this is the story I'm writing. So yeah, I knew there was going to be issues with the labeling the genre, because is it technically young adult? Maybe. Is it sci-fi? Yeah. Is it thriller? Yeah. A little fantasy? Yeah. There was a few things going on in here, and I just said, you know what? I don't really care. This is the story that matters to me. This is the story I'm doing at this time.
I understand that because I'm the same way. I have a character usually that comes to my mind, and the character starts, telling me what we need to do. And then I get done and I think, wow, where am I going to put that story? and I'm the same way you are. I have things that I want to write, and I'm going to write them, and then I'll figure out the back end on the back end, like we'll just figure it out. I've noticed more and more, I don't know if you have, that there has been a lot more genre melding, where more and more people are saying, I don't want to write just suspense or just historical fiction or just young adult, or just that they have these ideas and they're starting to create these new genres. They've got romancy now and all kinds of things that are out there that did not exist too long ago.
Yeah, I've been noticing that too. And I don't know if it has something to do with self-publishing and people being able to tell the stories they want, because you go the traditional route and the marketers there, they want to be able to market a specific genre because they know how to do that. It's the same with film and things, but if you're if you're a self-publisher, you can tell whatever you want, and hopefully if it doesn't work out well enough, you can slowly build up your audience over time, which is not what the traditional publishers they want to do. They want to get you on the bestsellers list, get you out there and everything, but self-publishers have a little more freedom to experiment, and I think that's where real art comes from, is being given that permission to experiment.
I agree, absolutely. Where in the world did the idea come up, like a soul snatcher, right? Who botches it and rips a soul in half accidentally? Like, where did that come from? I kind of want like a glimpse into your mind, Brent.
Oh, boy, I don't know, because it's kind of like, when I was writing this, I felt like this story just told itself. I didn't feel like I had to draw too hard from any one place or anything. The botched the botched solo, I mean, it's just there had to be some way of the spirit getting messed up,
Right.
and I wanted this to be a fun book, and so I was thinking, how could I make a fun character that can just totally mess everything up? And I don't know if this was slightly inspired by Home Alone. When I had my editors read this, they were looking at it and saying, "Are you really wanting to make this, this makes me think of the bad guys on Home Alone where they're kind of idiots." And I'm like, yeah, let's tighten it up just a hair. Maybe they can be a little bumbling still, but then I just kind of got into his character and I was like, you know what? This guy's an interesting fellow. And I just had a lot of fun diving into who he
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. I just found it fascinating because it's like, I love to hear authors and like their creative process and where these things come from. People will ask me like, where did the book idea come from? And I always wish that I had like this great story. And most of the time it's something like, oh, I had a wart. It's like, there isn't anything so fantastic. One of the premises of this book is that there are people who want to live forever. So they're trying to come up with this shell that they can then take their spirit and all their memories and put it into and live forever. And so my question to you is if you could do that, would you?
If I could do that,
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be pretty darn tempting.
Would it?
Part of me says no, I wouldn't. But then when it really came down to it, I don't know if I would have the gumption to not do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's good and bad to that,
Yeah.
and I can see where someone would say, well, we've got technology that's so close, let me live forever. I mean, I know there are people now who do things like they're freezing their bodies
Oh, yeah.
close to death in hopes that there'll come a time where they can like unfreeze them. And I don't know. I think it's kind of crazy.
You got others that are thinking AI is going to get strong enough they can
Yeah.
just download their brain into it and then
Yeah.
live forever in the computer world.
Yeah. It's some crazy stuff. And there's part of me that thinks that would be really cool. And then part of me is like, no, I think I'll be done with this world when I'm done.
If I could stay, I'm in my 40s now, but if I could stay 30 forever, that might be a lot more tempting than
Yes. Yeah.
than anything beyond 40. After 40, I've been noticing after 40 things don't go as easy.
Well, we'll just wait until you're 60, Brent, and then
I don't know. I don't know if I
yeah,
want to.
no, that's where I am right now, and I can tell you that it is a ride. And my mother is 80, and she tells me that getting old is not for sissies. So
I believe it.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to know who your favorite character is.
Oh man, I would say my favorite character in this is possibly either Ruby and now Ruby's a caretaker,
Right.
in there. She deals a lot with the main character. I like Ruby a lot, and I also like, I like Garm a lot. Garm is the other half of the main character's spirit that gets
Right.
put into the little boy's body who trains
Right.
to be an assassin.
Right. So what is it about Garm that you say, oh gosh, I really love that?
I don't know. Maybe I can relate to him a little bit better.
Is it? Okay. All right.
No, I like Garm because Garm got all the logistical type personalities. He didn't get any of the fun, bubbly personality that the main character Winnie got. And I really think it's fascinating looking at the world through his eyes and seeing how he interprets things, how he learns things, and then just the combination of innocence versus needing to still somehow fit in.
Yeah. Yeah. I did like his character. I have a daughter who has autism, and his character reminded me a little bit of her. Not that she's not whimsical, because she is, but the trying to fit in, the standing there going, I think I got something wrong. And I don't know quite what it is that I didn't catch on to. There's social interactions going on around me, and they're not making sense to me at all. And so I saw a little bit of her in that. And I was just curious, when you decided to split that character and you made one very whimsical and one very logical, there's a lot of ways that you could have split. What made you choose that avenue?
For me, it just seemed like the most, I don't know if I'd say easy, but it was the first thought that came to my mind, because I really wanted Winnie to just be bubbly and bouncing off the roof and just driving everybody crazy with how she was acting. And I wanted the other one to make everybody uncomfortable somehow. And it just kind of, it felt like a natural split to give those two personalities those traits.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching the two of them, because, as the reader, we know what's happening. They do not. Winnie has no clue what's going on, and Garm has no clue what's going on, but we do, and we're watching. And I keep thinking, ooh, like together they're the perfect person. Together they're the perfect person. And I think that's really what you were trying to show, is that there isn't one half of us that's better than the other half. Like, it really does take all parts of us to be completely whole and human. I'm curious about this. Are you a pantser or are you a plotter?
I am mostly a plotter with room for pantsing. I've tried the pantsing approach before, and I tend to get lost. And when I do the plotting, I feel like I have more of a structure to go for. I can hit the beats I want to hit. But then every now and then, I like to let my characters take me on a joyride.
Right. I am a complete pantser. I have tried plotting multiple different ways. I can't find a way that works for me. My characters just line up on the wall, fold their arms, and pretty much tell me, you let us know when you're done with this stupid experiment, and then we'll get back to writing.
I think that anyone who can do it just like that is fantastic. I wish that I could just let them all take me on that ride, and sometimes they do, but usually I have to have some kind of a structure, at least if not in my mind, on paper somewhere, to give me a map of it.
Right. I think a lot of people talk about, which is better, pantsing or plotting. I don't really think there is a better. I think it's what works for you. I also think that pantsers like me, we plot, but we plot later. So I have to go back and look at my manuscript and say, okay, now this is a mess. What can I do to put in the beats? What can I do? And then I'm having to mash it all around and make it now work. Whereas you do that on the front end before you write. So I think that we all do the same things. It's just in what order do we choose to do them?
Well, and to be fair, I think that even as a plotter, I still end up doing that a lot, because I'll get going and then I'll get maybe a third of the way into my book, and then I'll look at my outline and I'm like, I'm not on my outline anymore. And then I have to either adjust my outline or reevaluate where I've been. And so there's a lot of rehashing on these outlines, even for me.
Right. I tried doing an outline with my last manuscript. I ended up throwing out about 30,000 words that I had written, because I got so intensely concerned with this outline that I lost my character's voice completely. And I started reading this and it was like, this is horrible. Like, this is so bad. And so I really have learned that for me, I just have to let the creativity come out. And then I'll go back and I'll make all of the fixes that make it a story. I wander in the woods. My editors tell me all the time, Terry, you're wandering in the woods again. I know.
It'll make sense after the third or fourth draft, I promise.
It's like you got to let me wander so then we know where we're going. I don't know. It's crazy.
I did one book like that. It was my first attempt at ever pantsing, and I got through the book, and then at the end of the book, I self-published it, gave it to everybody, and they all came back and they said, I hate it. I'm like, what'd you hate about it? They're like, the end made absolutely no sense. And I'm like, okay, so it didn't make sense. And I went through the book again. I'm like, well, I gave you all the hints all along, and still you couldn't quite figure out why I did this ending the way I did it. And then I ended up having to take it all and rewrite it. And yeah, it was, yeah. So for me, yeah, that's why I do the outlines. But I
Right.
think that you're right. You can get trapped in your own outline if you're not
Yes.
careful and make it
Yeah.
too
And I
structured.
think that's what my problem is I don't know how to use an outline as a general guide. I become very attached to the outline. I become very attached in my own personal life to like my to-do lists and other things. Like it really, like if it's on my list, it's got to get done. And so I think that for me, when I'm trying to be creative, I just need to let all of that go. And then I just write and, like a crazy person. And then I have to go back and say, okay, now that's horrible. What are we going to do with that mess? And sometimes there's nothing to do with it. Sometimes it's just a mess and you just say, okay. I'm curious, do you have any of those? Do you have manuscripts that you've written that you've just said, well, this is going to go nowhere?
Yeah, I've got one that I'll never publish that I wrote, and I couldn't figure out who I would ever want to sell it to, and it just didn't. It was fun at the time, but in the end, it wasn't really a marketable script.
Yeah. I think that happens, and I think it's okay. I've got a couple that I wrote, especially early on, that I'll never show anyone, and I just remind myself it was teaching me the craft. I was learning things. Yeah.
Yeah, I did that, except I wrote my early ones, my trunk novels, so to speak, under a different pen name, so that once I actually got the garbage out and the craft up, then I could just switch over to my name and start writing under my name.
That's wise. I just didn't publish them. Which
is probably what I should have done too. But
I just looked at him and went, "Whoo, those are bad. That's really bad." When someone is done reading your book, now I know that part of it is you wanted a good, clean story. You wanted people to have the ability to read something that had like the suspense and whatnot to it without having to go through all of the sex scenes and the horrible violence and the profanity and all of that stuff. So I know that's part of it. But what do you want them to get out of the book in addition to a really good, clean story?
So mainly that's it, because I feel like there's books that are really preachy, telling you what, maybe trying to force their values on you. I read other stories that perhaps have a more deep meaning or message. I feel like I've been blessed with an ability to enjoy and want to share just popular stories that you can sit back and not really think too much about, just have a good time with.
Yes.
But I like, from my value-driven standpoint, I like to be able to do that in a safe manner. So maybe you've got some adult who only reads young adult fiction because a lot of the adult fiction is full of the profanity and sexual content that maybe they don't actually enjoy reading that stuff, but in a lot of adult content, they don't come with ratings. And so you almost assume that there's going to be stuff like that in a lot of novels out there. And so they get stuck in these young adult books, but I wanted to write something for adults that they could just pick up and enjoy, put down in the end of the day and say, that was fun. And I didn't want to give a specific message. I didn't want to, force my values on anyone. I just want to say, here's a clean read that you're going to have fun with. And you could be an adult. If your kids pick it up, you're not going to be embarrassed by what they read either. Right.
I did enjoy that aspect of the book a lot, being able to read it. When I read books, I read a lot. I read very widely, and I'll do reviews. And I often have to put author note, many sexual scenes. You can skip them, and the book is just as good. And that's what I do. It's like, oh, yeah. Okay, there we are, back to where I want to read again,
Flip a few more pages down the road. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, there we are. Now back to the story, So I did enjoy that in your book, the fact that I didn't have to close my eyes through certain sections or cringe at the words or feel like the violence was gratuitous or anything like that, that it was just a good And it was fun. And despite the fact that there were some really nefarious characters, it was also a fun book in which it was a heavy theme, but it was light at the same time. I don't even know how to explain what I'm trying to say, but it didn't, you didn't walk away from it with this, right?
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of it is because your characters were very well developed. You had really good characters. Winnie was hysterical to me because she was the perpetual 3-year-old.
Yep.
Right? Like just happy and unaware. The scenes in particular, I won't give anything away, but she meets up with a crew of people who aren't they're teenagers and they're not very good. They're out they're stealing, etc. Right. And she finds herself in this group, and before long, everyone loves her more than anyone else. And she seems like she just knows what she's doing, and she has no clue. She doesn't even recognize that they're thieves and that she's part of a group of thieves. She has no notion. And I find that it was just funny. It was like, I think her character helped that when we saw some more, ugly aspects of people who are trying to live forever and willing to do anything to do it, she was kind of that breath mint, on the side that kept it from feeling too heavy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. That I was really trying to help,
right,
and use her as a means to help lighten everything too.
Yeah,
right. It was fun with seeing where she could go with things, and I mean, it's nice to think that you don't have to be completely brilliant or completely on the ball to actually succeed, and she was succeeding miraculously, without even knowing it,
without even being aware that she shouldn't have been. Which I also love, that idea that, I just am. And so she did a really good job with that. I also liked then her counter character. Like I've said, that I loved watching him as you could tell, he was trying to analyze his way through social situations. Like how do I act young and innocent, and because he didn't know, because he was so analytical. And I just found those two to be really, really interesting. And you also said you talked about Ruby a little, so let's talk about her. She was a caregiver, right? Well, what about her character did you like?
So I've actually known some people like her before, and I mean, I didn't model this off of anyone in particular. Nobody in this is modeled off anyone in particular, but I drew things that I liked about certain people I knew who had similar characteristics. And I think that for her, I loved how she saw the good in everybody, and she didn't just see it, she acted on it. She put her whole life on the line to make other people's lives better. And I just felt like that was such an admirable person that I've seen in the world, and I wanted to include that in the book and see how someone like that would actually deal with someone like Winnie.
Yeah, exactly. And she did such a beautiful job with her. Everyone else is frustrated with Winnie because you can't leave her alone. You never know what Winnie's going to do. She's going to be on the roof. She's going to be doing something. And yet Ruby just loved her.
Right.
And you're right. It is wonderful to run into people like that in the world.
Yeah. And I feel like so often, if you're trying to make an interesting character, you give them dark characteristics. And I like the idea of making someone interesting, but with light characteristics.
Right. And when you look at her, the only thing that she has that you can be a little frustrated with is that she's literally willing to give everything. And part of you wants to say, ooh, use some financial sense, right?
Yeah.
But she did it with such a pure intent and such a pure heart that you have to love her in the end.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that you're still writing. What is coming up? What's coming up next for you, Brent?
So next I have a book called Hard Boiled Cabbage. It's another one of those genre mixing things. So I don't know. Maybe I like doing this. Maybe I'm hoping I'll transcend genres. I don't know.
Yeah.
But this one is coming out in March. It's a combination of your dark noir mystery
Yeah.
with a fantasy world.
Oh, cool.
So, and it might have a few threads of steampunkiness that start threading in later novels because it's going to be a 6-book series.
Oh, look at you going for this series. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been able to write a series. When I'm done with a book, I am so done.
I like doing a series, but I like putting a standalone in between each book in the series.
To give you, it's the breath mint idea where you
Yeah,
need
it gives me a break,
yeah.
lets me experiment. Yeah, you get to play around, and because I do, like you said, I get stale if I just focus on the same story for too terribly long.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like I kind of wrap my characters up and I'm done. It's like, okay, we're done with that. Now what's next? I have so many ideas that I also think that it would be very difficult to try to figure out how to keep the continuity. Oh gosh, what did I say about him back in book 3? I'm on book 6, I've changed his hair color. Like that would make me crazy. So
yeah, I think having a story Bible or an editor who keeps one for you is probably a good idea for doing that.
I would agree. Absolutely. So, hey guys, if you want to keep this conversation going, head on over to Novels and Latte Book Club on Facebook. There you're going to have a chance to get a digital copy of One for the Money, Two for the Soul. Just tell me something you liked or learned on this podcast. Brent, I don't know why I called you Brett. I'm so sorry.
Everyone else does.
Okay, Brent. If someone wanted to get up with you, talk with you, learn about your books, learn about your writing, what's the best way to do that?
So I've got a couple different ways. On my website at lightmindedarts.com, I run a blog every week on there. I also have a YouTube channel where I actually talk about helping young authors, maybe not young, just anywhere from just starting out to maybe in their midlife like me, and just trying to find a financially stable way of creating their own art while still being able to take care of their lives financially. So that's on YouTube, my Light Minded Arts channel there. But I think that those are the two best places you can find me and get to know me and different things. And if you comment on those or anything like that, I've got a contact page on my website too, that if you needed to get a hold of me, it's one way to do it. So yeah, YouTube and my website at lightmindedarts.com.
Fantastic. And I'll have all that in the show notes, guys. So do a couple of things for me. Run right out and get this book. Definitely review it when you've read it, because you're going to love it. And as authors, we love reviews. And Brent, I want to thank you so much for being with me today. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Hey, it's been great being here with you. And if your listeners would like it, I'd even be willing to give them a free copy of this book if they just go to my website, go to my contact form, fill out your name, your email address, and mention Terry's podcast here, and I will send you a copy of One for the Money, Two for the Soul, just an ebook version, absolutely free. Mostly, I just want to get my name out there and get some reviews. So come on by, and I'm not going to run this forever, but if you stop by soon, I'll get you a free copy of it.
That sounds great. So guys, do that. Run right out. Go to his website, which is Light Minded Arts, right?
Yep, lightmindedarts.com.
Lightmindedarts.com. And you sign up and he will get you a free copy. Just tell him that you came from me. All right. Thanks so much. And we will see you next week.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you for listening to Online for Authors, where I, Terry M. Brown, author of character-driven fiction and host of the podcast, introduce readers to characters they'd love to invite to lunch. Tune in next Tuesday for another podcast episode.